So we are back with another episode. You are most welcome. Today I just want to go over a brief history of dreams, how they were recorded and how they have influenced people's lives in different ways. Just showing again why dreams are so important to pay attention to, and the more that we prepare and study symbolism and our own personal symbolism, we can derive meaning from many of our dreams. So let's go back to the oldest known recording of dreams, which is from Mesopotamia. So that was around 2500 BC, thereabouts. And I'm not going to go into like all historical context. I'm not the right person for that. I'm just pulling out the aspects of dreams within the literary or historical documents. So whether that's cultural history, like I said, or religious, I'll be pulling out little parts. But if you want to go deeper, there's plenty of information out there. So in Mesopotamia, there was a king called Dumuzi of Uruk. Why he's interesting is because he is both known as a literary character in ancient times, but also an actual king and a fisherman that then became an early ruler. So I think there's like this flow from some form of truth, and then he's been made to be this figure depicted in tales of greatness. Interestingly, he actually is said to have married a high priestess of the goddess Inanna. And so there's a lot to do with dreams in that respect as well. So let's get back to the actual dream. So it was recorded on cuneiform tablets, and many of these tablets were compiled into a literary work about Gilgamesh and his companion Enkidu, which we'll also touch on in a bit. So in the dream, it was recorded on tablets in the cuneiform script, and it speaks of a shepherd king that had a prophetic symbolic nightmare foreshadowing his death, and that he would be pursued by demons. Interestingly, it then refers to his sister, which is Geshtin Anna, who interpreted the dream for him. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great interpretation in the sense of the outcome, but she just confirmed that it was pointing towards his inevitable death, and that he would then be taken to the underworld. So that's the earliest references that we have. Then we go back to Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh had a dream of a battle axe, holding a battle axe, and it was his mother, again another female, interestingly enough, that interpreted that dream for him, because it's like, what does that mean, holding a battle axe? Am I going to war again? So obviously in the literary work, Gilgamesh is holding this axe in the dream, and his mother says, oh no, that's actually foretelling that your companion and I suppose warrior friend Enkidu is returning from wherever he was. So again, another woman had interpreted that dream. What I find interesting is in Mesopotamia we have Dumuzi of Uruk depicted in different categories of human: mythical, godlike, king, shepherd who became king, and it is referenced at some point that he married a high priestess of Inanna. And I think that's interesting because at that time there was still a lot of rituals, belief that dreams held meaning, and that these goddesses, gods and goddesses, were extremely powerful. Inanna was one of the earliest, most powerful deities of that time, and I think she went through different iterations over time, then becoming like Ishtar and being blended with others down the line. But very interesting times, and it would be great just to broaden your horizon of who Inanna is, because she is seen as the one with the greatest heart. She's also known as the morning and evening star. The lady with the largest heart, amongst other things. I mean, she basically is the most powerful goddess in history, in historical terms, and is involved with the outcome of war, with sensuality, with sex, with practically everything. She is involved from top to bottom. And it is said that one of her priestesses married this king who is like mythological, but based on some truth historically. So it's like, you know, preserving knowledge through this way is quite normal. So we turn people of great renown, people that have achieved amazing things, into these literary characters so that we can learn from them. And then we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so not only do we have Dumuzi of Uruk, from that region, we also have the literary work of Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh have famously had a relationship, friendship. At one point they were rivals, and in the end they became good friends. And this was Enkidu, and he had a dream holding this battle axe, and it's actually his mum, which is another woman, actually said that means that your friend, your companion, is coming back. And that was interesting, because obviously the battle axe that he was holding is representative of the person that he used to go out to war with. So I think that's an amazing thing to keep in mind when we're looking at the symbolism of dreams. So, you know, the modern day would be, oh, that old battle axe. And if we were to dream of a battle axe, now, is there someone that we would call a battle axe? We normally refer to an older woman, a mum or a mother-in-law, an auntie, who is battle worn in life, could be a bit cantankerous. And so we see that now, you know, we've got common sayings and meanings, and it's very similar back then, and we're talking over 2,000 years before Christ. And we've still got the same type of sayings now, which, you know, we can actually derive meaning from when we're looking at the symbolic meaning of our dreams. What's interesting about the Sumerians is that they actually had dream priests. So people would go and share their dream, and the dream priests would spend the night in the temple. Sometimes there would be rituals involved, and after spending the night they would be able to interpret that dream and give meaning to it. So it was actually called a process called incubating your dreams. So very much similar to, I suppose, I often tell people that when you have a dream, do wait, because you could get excited and say, oh, it means this, because you recognize some aspect of it. But when you wait upon a dream and pray over it, you will find that deeper meaning often is revealed over time. There's been times when I've had a dream and I've interpreted a whole page of A4, and I spent so much time, I think there was a good 10-15 years ago, one of my own dreams, it took me about a week to break down the dream, get the message of the dream. And then I felt this nudge in the spirit to just look at the date, and everything about what I found in the dream was actually in the date itself. It pretty much gave a synopsis of the dream. I couldn't believe it, that I'd spent all that time and I just felt that nudge in the spirit, just look at the date. And so important, do date your dreams, put the time that you've had them. There may be significance in it, there may be not. But, you know, you never know when you have to go back and look over something, and it may pop out at you. So incubating your dreams, not just for one night, but I would say sometimes several weeks or even a month or so, you will get a different insight, revelation, detail will pop out at you that you probably overlooked before because you're excited about the other aspects that you are learning have meaning. So do give that some thought. Now the next one I wanted to go on to was ancient Egypt, because they also were known to have the first like real compiled dream interpretation manual, and they recorded dreams so that they had the interpretation and its possible outcome. So there was always two outcomes to a dream. So you would either have that which is for your good, or that which isn't, depending on the context of the dream. Again, it's the same thing that they had dream interpreters. They would go do some kind of rituals, and the same process kind of applied. It is said that a lot of the Sumerian culture and traditions, especially when it comes to dreams, filtered into Egypt and influenced how they recorded dreams. But then obviously their own cultural traditions took it in a different direction. Then we have ancient Greece. Now, ancient Greece is really interesting because we've got like Aristotle that said that humans are capable of achieving a pure form of wisdom only when they sleep. So I think that's quite stark, quite interesting. That the great Aristotle, acknowledges that if we just shut up, be quiet, and rest, and be in that place of rest, we can actually receive revelation if we're willing to pay attention to those messages. And then it goes on to Hippocrates, and Hippocrates had actually said that he was able, if you don't know Hippocrates, he is said to be the father of modern medicine. And he was one person that said he was able, at the early stages of illness, to be able to tell what type of sickness and how far along they were based on dreams that the dreamers would have, because he treated so many people that were indicators. So there are dreams that we have that are actually our body telling us that we're ill. And all of these people that he treated over time, he was able to see a pattern. And this is how we compile dream dictionaries. We have historical information that gives us meaning in context of what happened in history. We have cultural and the culture of the time, and then now the culture that we live in. So these things influence the outcome of what we think the dream means. That being said, I think that was it was a proven method, an indicator to what type of illness someone was having, and that he was able to record that, and we have the privilege now of actually accessing that information and knowing that actually if we do pay attention, if we start training children from when they're young, if you dream this, it could indicate this. I'll give you a personal story. So as children are learning to control their bowel movements when they go to bed, we go through this whole period, everyone goes through it, where we wet the bed. And I started dreaming that I was going to the toilet, and then I'd wake up out of the dream, and sure enough, I needed to go to the toilet. And that's how I stopped wetting the bed. I started to recognize, I was literally dreaming of going to the toilet and recognizing that I was wetting myself. And I think I must have been 5 or 6 years old, probably 5. So recognizing these little things, that just came back to me. I haven't thought about that for years, but it really did happen. So I dream of wetting myself. I'd go through a process of wetting myself, and then I realize, oh gosh, I'm actually dreaming that I need to go to the toilet. Wake up, and that's how I stop wetting the bed. So if we can give children, not just adults, but children, these tools, they're going to actually value their dreams much more and consider them as part of what influences their life decisions. Simple life decisions, but amazing for all of us. So yeah, then we've got the one book that I wanted to show you. I've kind of referred to it before, but they developed the book, The Interpretation of Dreams. of which I kind of have a copy that had been interpreted probably 100 years ago, so it's in Old English. But it uses the language of the time, so some of it we're not going to recognize. But what's interesting is the meaning that they gain from things that we probably wouldn't have considered. If you are studying biblical imagery, you're likely to be more susceptible to considering interpretations of symbols within your dream. But have you ever considered that the clothing that you're wearing is part of the dream symbolic language that you should learn? Or maybe the shoes that you're wearing? What about the actual body part? So is there something about your nose that looks different in the dream? Is it longer? Is it wider? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Do you find that in a dream that you might have a supernatural smell, that you could smell something in a dream that protected you or informed you? That would be the gift of discernment, amongst other things. So yeah, we have a great indication that from over the years we can learn from, if we are just willing on our own to study who we are and how our mind conveys the subconscious and what I would consider the spiritual realm and information that we need to make decisions about our life. If we pray over these things, we just have a much more fuller and richer life. So in ancient Greece, there's this book, and I wanted to read something to you. So I want you to see that even, I still get challenged, and I need to go over this book again, because I don't know if people would see this in their dreams. I surely didn't. So this is a compilation of several books that was put together. So this is book 1, and it says number 47, the knees. The knees are symbols of strength and manliness, of movements and business transactions. Can you imagine that? Now, if I hadn't read that, that wouldn't have entered my mind unless I'd been prompted by the Spirit of God. Business transactions. The knees can sometimes be related to business transactions. So we can be a little bit humble or humbled to actually look at things from years gone by, because our God is the same yesterday, today and forever. And so there will be, like I said, in the 4 dream languages, there will be personal, there will be cultural, there will be spiritual, and there will be religious. And in our case, what I'm doing is biblical. Other people from other faith traditions will have their religious texts which will convey different meaning. So the 3 major religions that are interrelated, the Abrahamic religions, will have similar in some regard, but over time the ancient civilizations within their faith tradition have their own culture, and so things that we wouldn't experience in the West, they do in the Middle East. So they will have different symbolism that we can also learn from, because I would say if you are called to be an intercessor, you will find that you will dream things that don't make any sense. And you'll be looking for the symbolism somewhere, and sometimes you will have to look in places that you're not going to find everything in the Bible, because that's our traditions and this is what we go to, but there are cultural, spiritual influences that can be explained by other texts, just as we have talked about the Sumerians and Gilgamesh, etc. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So let's go on to some personal examples. Well, not my personal examples, but historical person examples. So in England, we had King Edward the Confessor back in 1066, and he was known to be quite a pious man, quite prophetic actually. And he had had a dream. He was close to death, and he had had a dream that after his death, like I think it was like 1 year and 1 day after his death, that devils would bring fire and sword and war. and it would be to punish the country for its wickedness of its earls and its clergy. Very interesting. I should look at that a bit more. Certainly can relate to people in high places needing additional prayer and guidance of some kind. And anyway, so as it goes, I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. I said that the curse would only be lifted when a green tree felled halfway up its trunk and with one part cut off, taken 3 furlongs away, would rejoin and grow again. So that's when the curse would be lifted, when this trunk that has been felled halfway down and then part of it has been carried 3 furlongs away. Furlongs is, it's a decent distance. If you watch horse racing, you'll see how long a furlong is. Not too far away, but the fact is that it's separate, that it would rejoin. And what we know about trees is that trees represent people. So I would be interested to take a look at that myself at some point in time in more detail. I might come back to that at a later date and explore it with you. So anyway, the Archbishop at the time dismissed this as the ravings of a man close to death, but he was known to be prophetic. And then we have creative dreams, and the creative dreams are really interesting because I think it was Picasso who said, I dream my paintings and then I paint my dreams. So we see how that influence feels through. And then one of my favourites is Salvador Dali. He often spoke of painting that which he had dreamed. And he utilised that to challenge the church in his time and the hypocrisy that he saw. And he would be very provoking in some of his imagery, but his dreams. If you remember, there's one where there's melting clocks and melting bacon, and there's a famous one with I think it's a tiger with a pomegranate and a bee coming out of the mouth. And I always thought that they had to be some kind of dream symbols, because where else? There's the imagination, but that subconscious, unconscious realm. If you have the ability and the creativity and artistic talent to be able to paint what you see in your dreams, it's quite stark. And saying that, I wanted to go on to entertainment, because there's things that I have seen in the last 20 years in films that I've only ever seen in the spirit realm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these demons are famous. And how are these people dreaming stuff that I have seen 2-3 times, either harassing me, or I've seen a vision of them harassing somebody else. And exactly as I've seen them, they've been depicted in 3-4 dreams. So I'm not quite sure how they tap into that and are able to depict them so accurately. It still surprises me today, and I don't even know if I want to go down that rabbit hole. But what I do want to say is that, again, our dreams can carry deeper meaning. They can carry inspiration. They can carry creativity. And so one we have is James Cameron, who created the Terminator films, famously made known by Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the robotic Terminator figure. So James Cameron actually said he came up with that idea actually from a dream. He had been sick and he had a fever, and he saw this figure emerging out of molten metal with this, that rictus metallic robot smile. And it was that inspired him to actually do the whole series on Terminator. So I think that was a really good one. But the one that I want to finish off with is a woman that I'd found out about many, many years ago. Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker was a woman that was an African slave, an African-American slave. And she became the first American woman to be a self-made millionaire. Notice, not first slave African American woman, but first American woman that was self-made millionaire. And it started with a dream. I was just so inspired to read the story because she had had a scalp condition and her hair was falling out. And in one night she had a dream, and in the dream a man came to her and said, oh, you need these particular things and it will heal your scalp. So she did her research and she found out, and I'm skipping part of the story, that she actually went from a slave in the field to the wash tub, and then she ended up developing, buying her own land, developing her own factory and such and such. Please go and check her out. Absolutely amazing. I'm surprised there aren't statues of her everywhere. She is a force to be reckoned with, and this all came from her paying attention to a dream, and it was a solution. So we can get solutions to our problems in dreams. We will get inventions, and I can't even tell you about the inventions that I've dreamt of that I'm still trying to get my husband and my brother to help me build. It doesn't look that simple that in the thing that I've drawn, but they don't. I don't know what they're scared of. It's not that difficult to create energy. I'm not going to blow anyone up. It's only magnets and metal and wood. But anyway, getting back to CJ Walker. So in the dream, the man came up to her and said, you need these things. And when she researched, she said she can only get them from Africa. And she found the way to get those things, those ingredients. She mixed them together, applied them and tested them on herself. And there were several other people that had similar issues. And it worked. It healed the scalp condition. And her hair came in longer and thicker than it ever did before. And this is what her business was founded upon. And she became like the first female millionaire in America. Absolutely amazing. And this is what she said. I'm going to read the quote so I don't mess it up. She said, I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there I was promoted to the wash tub. From there I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there I promoted myself into the business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations. I have built my own factory on my own grounds. I mean, why don't we hear about these stories? I just don't get it. Why? I'm baffled. You could take that, just an historical figure that is so inspiring. We could have her life story, which I think they recently turned into a film in the last few years, actually. Now I recall. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I'm sure it's amazing. But we could also take that from having a story about dreams. I mean, look at, we take Inception. Inception is another film about dreams. It's about hijacking people's dreams and stealing their ideas. So there is recognition, that dreams hold weight, they hold value, and we should too. So this was a short one, looking at a brief history of dreams and how human beings have recorded them and used them in different ways or been influenced by them. I hope that's been really insightful. I've enjoyed just looking over them again. Some of them has really inspired me to go a bit deeper and look over some of the books that I have on dreams with a fresh eye and renewed interest in expanding and reminding myself of the things that I have read before, because we don't remember everything. So I would encourage you, continue to write your dreams, pay attention to them, explore the ways in which you record your dreams. Draw them in symbols, write them with words, draw them and colour them in with crayons that your children have, and have fun with it, enjoy them, and then eventually let's get to the place where we can look at those dreams and see if we can help each other in times to come. So for now, happy dreaming, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.